mother had actually found both birth mothers when the children were around 10. And now, at the time of interview, it had been going on for 4 years. And the children were teenagers at this time. And she's just saying how great it was for the children. They both talked about the contacts at school to their friends. And they're not only in contact with the birth mother, but with birth grandparents, grandmother, uncles, aunts, cousins. And she says, the adoptive mother says, that the children were particularly happy to see how they might grow, what they might look like when they've grown up. And the other child looks exactly like the birth uncle, with long limbs and very tall. And the other one has her teeth crossed, just like one of his uncles. And also how grateful the birth mothers are to know and to have news on their children. And one of them actually said that she had not been able to even think about a new pregnancy because it was so traumatic not knowing how the adopted child fared. And now she actually has a new baby because she's so relieved to know. And they're all planning to meet. So, but maybe I'll skip over this. She's just explaining here how good it is for everyone and how the adoptive parents feel happy. She, as a mother, feels happy when the children are happy. And obviously in this case, but she's also saying that you have to be prepared. The contact might not always be so positive. And just like we heard in Barbara Ingerson's presentation, there are complexities. I'm just showing one case with such complexity. This contact has also been going on for 5 years now, and the child is now actually 5. So it started with the meeting of the birth mother, and then they've kept in contact. And at first, it all goes well, and adoptive mother tells me that, no, I don't feel threatened in my motherhood at all by the other mother. It's just so great. She's such a positive, lovely person. And the birth mother says that it actually keeps me going, that there is this contact. And then the intensity changes. There's also, at first it starts by letters, and then at a later stage there's email. And the adoptive mother says there's too much email, there's all the time. And then the birth mother apparently had felt offended by the adoptive mother referring to the child as my child. So she's suggesting that could the adoptive mother not talk about our child. And at this point, all the fears of the other mother, of one's own motherhood being cancelled out, flares, and the adoptive mother becomes very anxious. And also at this stage, the birth mother says that she's starting to save money to come for a visit. The adoptive mother tells me that the minute she heard this, she went to the child's room and checked to where the front door was and where the room was, that, oh, I'm going to sleep. And she was already not taking out the mattress, but planning to take out the mattress and sleep next to the child's bed, or alternatively next to the front door, in case the child not only symbolically cancelling her motherhood, but physically taking. And at this point, social workers intervene, and she also says the child has become afraid that he'll be taken away from his home. Some time goes on, and I've interviewed her 4 times, and by the last interview, everyone's happy about the contact again. Emails have stopped, but there's letters, and adoptive mother says, well, the last letters have been really like harmonious, and we've come across our differences. And letter, I mean, she's able to take out the letter when she wants, not like feeling overcome by the emails, which happen on the same temporal time. So contact is okay, but maybe not. There's a fine line between having too much contact. Still 5 minutes? Yes, I have 5 minutes. So now I'll just quickly look at these all the contact in a more analytical way. So both face-to-face meetings and contact create so much empathy and understanding and loving feelings in the adoptive parents, and this has been shown in other research as well. And I mean, they describe birth parents as lovely people, really good-looking, very beautiful, smiling, positive, smart, having great sense of humor. And the meetings and the contact is said to be natural. One mother says, I can't even explain it to myself why it should feel so natural that my children have another mother too, but this is how we feel. And in fact, they use a lot of kin idioms. I mean, they describe birth parents as their friends, as being similar to them, as being family. I mean, this is the quote from one parent who met the birth parents. They were the kind of persons I'd like to have as my friends. And the birth father reminded me of my brother, and I felt we were really close. And I had the feeling that, oh, we would all go back to Finland now. And another one who's in contact, I mean, this is not just the two, but this came across in my interviews. I love my child's mother like a sister. So they're like a brother, like a sister. We are all one. And of course, it's a genuine attempt to identify with the birth parents and also to maybe to get across the big hierarchy that actually divides them. And this is what the use of kin idioms maybe hides in this instance, that at the end of the day, power is with the other group of parents. I mean, it's up to the adoptive parents whether they send any information, and it's them that use the kin idioms, whereas, as we saw, birth parents don't use kin idioms, certainly not when talking about adoptive parents. It's these kind of issues. I'll get back to this soon. And then the other, and kin obligations, of course, there might be kin, but kin obligations are not included in this. And this is maybe similar to what was talked about before, about living in debt, but from the point of view of the adoptive parents. I mean, I did not touch these issues. They just came up spontaneously in the interviews, that the adoptive parents questioned the justification of adoption. They would say, that, oh, why do I have to take the child from them? Could I not, if it's only about money, maybe we could support the child to live with his birth mother. Or another mother said, maybe I could give all my adoption budget, because it's a lot of money that went into this, to support the child to live there. So this kind of guilt. But at the same time, there was justification for the adoption. Oh, but how can we be sure the money goes for the child? And also that, you know, life for the child would be so much better in these parts of the world. Living in shacks would be very hard, difficult, and they wouldn't have a proper life in that country. And also, they would ask for money from us. So there was this, they actually talk about blackmailing. They'd heard stories of them wanting their money, and also they pointed out that it's probably not the birth parents themselves, but somebody else trying to benefit. If I put my address, one of them said, some mother would quickly be found. Some mother I could support because I represent the white race to them. So there's all these kinds of issues. So justifications came from pointing out the superiority of parenting in the global north, and this comes up with what I talked about at the beginning of the two kinds of notions of parenthood. What is good parenthood differs, and then we've imposed this one notion of parenthood to others. And also they wanted to emphasize that it's a voluntary choice. But in some cases it might be debatable. I mean, what if the mother just chooses survival? Of course, I don't want to deny their agency. They're able to choose, but in a lot of cases it was really choosing survival. So both of guilt and the fear arise from the same position of privilege in the